what we shouldn't do, which is taught in our childhood, that we have to follow. This is the law. Judge is generally a loner. He has to travel alone. And when you think and decide, you need your own time. You can't have solitude is important. But even though there is a solitude, there is a leadership. Another type of a leadership is taking together people and also identifying leadership in them.
Now with situationships with people, the lines are so blurred now. You know, what is consent, what is not.
If it is a consent, it means it is a consent. I think because the young generation, they are caught in some dilemma, cultural, like Indian culture and Western ideas. We are caught in between. And what we say, we were engaged, or he has promised me to marry. Promise to marry is not that so you can go for sexual intercourse. They have many friends on social media, but you don't have a very good friend that to whom you have a dialogue, heart-to-heart dialogue. You can talk, you can share, you can solve your issues.
Let's look at the courageous judgments you have given.
Young generation, they want to experiment the things because they see what is sex. If she is pregnant, then it becomes a criminal case. Girl and boy, they have equal contribution in having sexual intercourse. But the boy goes inside. I gave certain directions when I was judge of the Bombay High Court, and which facilitated to the trial court judges to grant bail to these boys.
The minute there is a pregnancy, it suddenly becomes just the woman's problem. And you have made some, given some landmark work on that front as well.
It was about the under trial prisoner, and in judgment we said that a woman has absolute right over her body. She should take decision whether she wants pregnancy.
Today, inclusive leadership is not just about saying that are you male or female. Every human being must have the right to work, and your contribution to that has been quite amazing.
There was only in the form only male and female. We directed MPSC that they should give third option.
This definitely deserves applause, especially if it came 10 years ago before people were even talking about it.
Nowadays, young men and women, they're not ready to marry, and they want to have a live-in relationship. Marriage is the best institution which is answer to your sexual requirement. I mean, marriage or the family is a cream of the civilization. Youngsters may think over it.
Welcome to the ABP Elephant Connect Nurturing Inclusive Leadership series. When we talk about nurturing leadership, what is leadership really? And we've asked so many leaders what leadership means to them. But leadership is also about nurturing future leaders. And the future leaders we are speaking about, we hope that in the long run, in the years to come, leadership will be perceived in a way where it is so inclusive that everybody, despite whatever caste, religion, socio-economic strata, whatever their gender preference, their sexual preference, their ability, their disability, wherever they come from, they have the opportunity. They have the opportunity to learn to be leaders. So that is the purpose of this leadership series. And it's such a pleasure to have with me today Justice Mridula Bhatkar, the former judge of the Bombay High Court, with us. What a pleasure.
Hello to everybody. Hello.
Hello. My first question for you is that what does leadership mean to you?
There are many qualities are required for leadership. Basically, first, leader should have vision. Then he should implement it courageously. So vision and courage is required, but not only that, only the vision and courage, but the person should prioritize public good over the personal gain. The leader should have desire to sacrifice for others and then to lead them.
This is such an amazing answer, because if you ask a lot of other leaders, they may not have the same answer, but this is the answer we are looking for. And everything you spoke about is about other people. right? So leadership itself is about other people, and you have led by example for decades now, and your example of courage. You have led with courage, you have led with conviction, you have led, as you said, with sacrifice, all the three things you mentioned, and you have left behind such a contribution. When I say left behind, it's for all the young leaders watching today and future leaders watching today. What is it that you feel is your biggest contribution, something that will inspire, or others would take away?
See, what I feel, when you are a leader, you have to take your people with you. My mentor of leadership, I'll say that Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak. And it is said that why people walked with Bal Gangadhar Tilak, because he was, though he was visionary, while walking, he was only 4 feet ahead of the people and not 100 feet. So you should have a capacity to take people with you, and what matters is equality. Let people think that they are quite equal. There should not be gap which cannot be bridged up. So if at all they feel near to you, near to your heart, they should feel, then I think that's your success.
That is such a, it's such a curious mix of the old and the new, because you just spoke about walking only 4 feet, not 10 feet or 5 feet
Yes.
or, ahead.
Yes.
It's very, very closely linked to the leadership we talk about today, which is SMART goals, right?
Yeah.
Specific, measurable goals.
Yeah.
You don't give goals which are unachievable, especially to today's leaders.
Yes.
So coming back to where we started, let's look at the courageous judgments you have given. The first one we would like to talk about is POCSO, because especially for the young generation today, let's acknowledge that crime doesn't just happen, or sometimes, a lot of times, it happens without the intent. And POCSO, you're the expert.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what you had to say about it and what you would like to tell us.
I will just mention about my one judgment, because POCSO means is a sexual abuse of children, and children means who are below 18. Child may be boy or a girl. If at all the boy or a girl who is below 18 is abused, that is a different thing. But sometimes, rather it happens nowadays because of social media, because of availability of porn literature. Young generation, they want to experiment the things. So even a boy who is, say, about 18 years old, and a girl who she is 14 years old, they experiment because they see what is sex. And when they see that sex, they feel that it's a love, and so we should experiment it. So there is, if at all this experiment takes place, and the boy and the girl, they are caught by girl's parents, or girl remains pregnant, because many times they don't know how to use the contraceptives. It is because of ignorance or innocence, then she remains pregnant. If she is pregnant, then it comes out, and when it comes out, the boy, then it becomes a criminal case, because if a girl is below 18, then police, they have to take the cognizance under POCSO Act, and the offence is registered. Offence is registered against the boy. Now the boy is if at all he is about 25, 24, the thing is different. But we come across, suppose a boy is just 18, he is adult. If at all he is below 18, then he gets a benefit of under the Juvenile Act. But if at all he is above 18, just 18, 19, 20, 21, and the girl is, say, about 15, 16, 17 years, they think they have love affair, and they experiment. Then the boy goes inside and the girl is outside. In such cases, which are registered under the POCSO, bail is very difficult, because it is the offence against children or a child. Legislature is wise enough to make this act, but what happens, the boy who is, the girl and boy, they have equal contribution in having sexual intercourse, but the boy goes inside. and he remains inside. I have given a judgment that about the bail, so that I gave certain directions when I was judge of the Bombay High Court, and which facilitated to the trial court judges to grant bail to boy who is accused, but who is not, I mean, say about of more than 24, 25, but they are having an love affair. In France, if at all there is a gap between the boy and a girl, is not more than 5 years, it's less than 5 years, it is called, they call it as a Romeo Juliet clause.
Okay.
We don't have such a legislation. Actually, we should have. So, a boy, even he can be just 18, he goes inside. So, now that because of that judgment, I am happy that district judges or the trial court judges can grant bail to these boys.
It's excellent that you've spoken about something which very few leaders and very few legal professionals are actually willing to speak about. And what you've said is such an essential part of leadership, really, because the responsibility of a leader is so high. A leader is supposed to be this know-all person who knows everything, and a lot of times leaders don't.
Manjiri, I'll tell you that how a judge is, he or she stands on a different platform when we talk of a leadership. See, leadership can be leadership in work and leadership along with the people. These are the two different things. Judge is generally a loner. He has to travel alone when he decides the case. There are many legal luminaries, many stalwarts, and so many judges. They have laid down the law, a different law, path-breaking judgments they have given, and that is called many times a precedent. So, my contribution is just like a squirrel's share, but it is there, and as I told you, that is on POCSO. So, that judges' leadership in the work is different, and leadership sometimes it is going with the people. Like even we can say about, when we talk about the judges, also like scientists. Like we can take example of Einstein. And when you think and decide, or you have to invent or discovery, you need your own time. You can't have, solitude is important. But even though there is a solitude, there is a leadership.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. You've made a brilliant point. I'll come to how this is connected to the leadership of today.
Yeah.
Sometimes leaders, you tend to have leadership thrust upon you, or it happens to you when you're as young as, say, I would say 24 years old, 21 years old. With startups, leaders are very, very young today. And sometimes, in fact, very often, if there is a sexual harassment case or there is a case of any kind of complaints registered, it does not even reach the formal court. And we have committees, which are, the law is very clear, the law is very strong, but committees are appointed, there are people within the organization, there is somebody from an NGO, the law is crystal clear what needs to be done. But look at the responsibility of a young leader. When I say young leader, or somebody in their 30s, 40s, or even 50s, where they have had to deal with, various kinds of cases there. All I want to bring forth is what you mentioned is the sense of balance, the sense of justice, which each of us inherently may or may not have.
Yes.
Why? Because in our case, it might translate into judgment, being judgmental, which is definitely not welcome in a leader, not about justice, but being judgmental. I'm coming to the next point. Here is what you mentioned is about consent. Again, very tightly connected to the generation of today. About 30 years ago, I would say even 20 years ago, the roles were so clear that what does it mean? What does it mean to give consent to something?
Okay, yes.
Right? It was very, very clear that, I would say socially it was quite clear, if somebody is consenting to something or not. But now with situationships, with people, getting together maybe under the influence of substances, influence of not just alcohol, but other substances, where the lines are so blurred now. What is consent, what is not, what is, what really happened. And you have given some landmark judgments on that.
I think, see, the consent in civil law is a consent given by adult for the contract. That's different. I think you are talking about young generation and this consent and the criminal offences is about the consent given in rape cases. Am I right?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this consent in a rape is it is to be free consent. It is to be consent with a knowledge, awareness the girl should give or a woman should give. This consent, if at all, I mean, there are also cases. If at all, I mean, the young boy and girl, they go to the pub and they have drinks, and then now social drinking is a common phenomenon, I say, accepted rather, I say, by society. And after drinks, then there is a sexual intercourse. Sometimes a boy takes defense and they have some illusion in their mind about the law that if you are drunk, whatever the act is done, that is a good defense or that is pardoned. It's not so. Even you can be drunk, but if at all girl says no or she doesn't give consent, even she may not say no, but she has not said yes. Not said yes is also not giving consent. So if it is not said yes or said just no, that means she is not ready to have a sexual act. And if at all you impose on her, that's a rape. So I was drunk, that's not a defense. And in other way, if at all boy and girl, they are in love with each other, and then they take the experience of sexual intercourse, and subsequently the boy, he says, okay, fine, now I have other girlfriend or I don't want to go along with you. The girl gets angry and she lodges complaint against the boy under that it is I was raped. The police are very, in a way, generous in registering such offences. Actually, they should not. They have to see if a girl is adult. I am talking about two adults. If a girl is or a woman is adult, then if at all she readily gives consent or she is ready for sexual intercourse, then that's not a rape. She is mature enough. She understands for what? I mean, what are the consequences of it? So I think because the young generation or women, they are caught in some dilemma, cultural, like Indian culture and Western ideas, we are caught in between. And so we have all traditional celebrations like Karwa Chauth, Vata Purnima, all these things are there. But then we see that, but then we want to take experience. And what we say, oh, our engagement was, we were engaged, or he has promised me to marry. Promise to marry, it is not that you should be ready or it is so you can go for sexual intercourse. So he may say, and the boy may say that, oh, after sharing bed, I found that we are not compatible sexually. And he says no. So therefore, women should be aware of it. They should know that whatever consent, if we are adult, if it is a consent, it means it is a consent. And we have I always feel sometimes, our society is Hippocratic on this, on talking about the sex. Even the young generation, they have many friends on social media, but you don't have a very good friend that to whom you have a dialogue, heart-to-heart dialogue. You can talk, you can share, you can solve your issues. And so, and we go by some wrong idea that women don't need sex. That's not correct. Young women, they need sex, and therefore it becomes a valid consent. Manjiri, may I make up one point more?
Certainly.
Is it okay?
Yes.
I think that now, I mean, in a flow, I'm telling that nowadays, young men and women, I come across this always agreements by parents of youngsters. They say that our son or our daughter, they're not ready to marry. And they want to have a live-in relationship, or they just want to stay, but they don't want a responsibility. But I would like to tell, And then, you know, the things happen because you cannot deny your requirement, a need of your body. This is natural. Don't refuse what your nature says or what your body needs. Accept it. But the thing is that I feel that marriage is the best institution which is answer to your sexual requirement. Yes, live in relationship, you may go for it, but there are many complications also. I mean, but marriage or the family is the I say utmost progressive, civilized. It's a cream of the civilization.
Right.
Youngsters may think over it.
Right. No, I think you've made some excellent points, and I'd like to take this back to leadership and the responsibility of leadership. Why? Because everything you've described is also happening at the workplace.
Yes.
Right? Because workplace romances, you know, all the wonderful Bollywood movies we have watched, they started with Bollywood, you know, romances and then people getting married. But in today's time, it's not necessary. That might lead into marriage, or it might even lead into a live-in relationship. Then they may be hidden, they might be under the surface. But every leader today has to deal with at least something happening under the surface. And, you know, all I would say to the leaders is that, you know, without being judgmental, because it's their life, like you rightly said, they're two consenting adults, you know, through this equation. But I'm now going to the next point. What you raised was about pregnancy, right? Because as long as they're two consenting adults, you know, they do what they do outside the workplace, everything's fine, it's nobody's business, everything's fine. But the minute there is a pregnancy, or there is the pregnancy which is brought to the table, it suddenly becomes just the woman's problem. Suddenly it's nobody else's problem, and then there is a lot of, like you said, hypocrisy, public shame, embarrassment and all of that, and the poor child at stake is not even born yet. And you have made some, you know, given some landmark work on that front as well, the termination.
My sister Judge Vijay Talramani and I, we have authored the judgment. It was about an under trial prisoner, and she was a woman, she was adult, but she was pregnant by, I think, 24, more than 24 weeks. And at that time, new law was not there. And it was, she was a little bit, you know, she was not having a well orientation. And she remained pregnant. She didn't want, because, you know, to be mother, I mean, to get pregnant, to remain pregnant is very easy, but to take a responsibility of a child and a motherhood is a big thing. It's a lifetime thing. So in that matter, if at all, nowadays women, or it's only related to women, because men don't get pregnant. So women, the law is that it is permitting now 24 weeks. That is what is allowed, but the thing is that 20 weeks it is allowed. But the thing is that if at all medical termination, I mean the termination of pregnancy is required, we have a law generally that is from the point of view of medical person. And in judgment we said that a woman has absolute right over her body, and she should take decision whether she wants pregnancy. That is to be left to a woman. It is not only the physically it is harmful to her, but sometimes it is a very mentally costly affair. And then under such circumstances, I think, but fortunately India has a good law on medical termination of pregnancy. I must appreciate, yes, there is quite a progressive law, and we are going towards that.
Absolutely.
Compared to even Western countries.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think their point really well made. I'm going now towards the next level of inclusion. Okay. And again, where, you know, not just leadership, the world of work has evolved. The world, yes. Thankfully, we're going in the right direction, I would say, where we talk about inclusion. And I'd like, you know, you to address our inclusion question on two fronts. One is, of course, on the judgment side, yeah, and your work, but also on your role as an administrator, as a leader. Mm-hmm. Right, where again you have shown some amazing courage in a time where it was not shown. So I'd just like to explain what this is. Today, inclusive leadership is not just about saying that are you male or female, right? There are so many times if I would say transgender, or if I, in the LGBTQIA, I don't want to go further into that, but people identify as different things.
Yeah.
Many different things. And if I'm one of them and I have only 2 boxes to tick and I'm not even represented, I'm not there, right? From there to today, when I began, I said every person, every human being must have the right to work, right to be included, right to potentially lead, and in the world of work. And your contribution to that has been quite amazing on both fronts.
See, Supreme Court has decided this issue, and Supreme Court, I say that so visionary in Nalsa judgment. And long back, 10 years back, Supreme Court said that they are to be included. And so on the basis of that judgment, when I was working as a chairperson of Maharashtra Administrative Tribunal, there was an issue whether Maharashtra Public Service Commission, it is an online forms, and there was only in the form only male and female. Your sex is to be, gender is to be male and female. So we directed in the division bench I was, and we directed MPSC that they should give third option, open other column, and that is identifying, acknowledging third gender in police examination in Maharashtra, like police constables, recruitment of police constables, and recruitment of police sub-inspectors.
This definitely deserves applause, especially if it came 10 years ago before people were even talking about it. So absolutely.
No, we gave judgment now, but Supreme Court long back has given Nalsa. So we directed the government to do that, and MPSC, which is important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. So let's come to the last part of inclusion, which is your role as an administrator. Of course, you've been a judge for so long, but as an administrator, you have led large teams of, I would say, judges, legal professionals, all of that, where once again, when you do things at the workplace where one doesn't feel included. I'll go back to somebody, for example, is doing something which involves running or involves, doing something very fast, and I might have a disability which, I'm not able to do that. I could do something else, or or it involves dressing up in a certain way, or often you have sari days in office and you have all kinds of fun things, and but a lot of times people feel that's for other people, it's not for me. And I know you have addressed that in a very good way. I'd love to hear about it.
See, Manjiri, we have very wrong concept or a notion that if at all you become a chief or if you head a particular department, that means you are a leader. That's not correct. You get that post in government service, or you say in the judiciary, or wherever you are, maybe because of your seniority. And as you become senior, and if at all there is a vacancy, you are promoted or you are put in that particular place. And of course, merit matters, but you are there. But the requirement of a job may be different, and leadership is totally different. So you may be holding a particular post, but you may not be a good leader. So you may be a good in that particular work. As I said, the leadership in that particular work, but leadership is another type of a leadership, is taking together people and making them equal, and also identifying leadership in them. Because we have to nurture and we have to create further leaders or future leaders. Future leaders, you have to identify. You have to treat them equally. So, I'll tell you, sometimes, you have to make some experiments also, but you should have that authority. And when you have authority, leadership, you take the leadership ahead. Like I always feel that when they are the government offices or courts, we shouldn't have a particular religion-oriented things like Satyanarayan we have, because majority of us generally then offices they are perform Satyanarayan. So in MAT also, my staff came and they said that we want Satyanarayan. So I said, all right, but we are government office, is a judicial place, and people from all the religions they come, and as per the constitution, we are bound by the constitution, our state is secular. courts are secular, government is secular. So instead of Satyanarayan, I thought I gave him option. I booked some part of Oval ground in Bombay, and we had a sports day. So I substituted sports day for Satyanarayan, and my staff, then lawyers, and also staff and the public and the prosecutors from the government office, they all played different games on the ground. And I think that my stenographer, I found that she was leading certain things and she was giving command to others. And then she told me afterwards that, Madam, today first time I wore canvas shoes, the sneakers, and played on the ground first time, and first time I ran in my life in the ground, on the ground. I think she realized that there is some leadership in her.
Excellent.
So I feel that that was something
Excellent.
to be told.
Excellent, excellent. This is really about bringing out the best in people and bringing out hidden talent, right? But to close the conversation about public festivals and celebrating only one part. So I'll just tell you a recent example of, I used to work as head of equality, diversity, inclusion at the Side Business School in Oxford last year. And inclusion, like you and me have spoken about a lot, is about something about strife, something about conflict. Saying your religion is different from my religion, your culture is different from my culture, your views, your gender is different from my gender. So we tried, and it was, I got a phenomenal response really from staff and students. We said, let's celebrate each other's differences.
Wonderful.
Let's first thing have the curiosity to know how are you different, what are you doing differently, and why are you doing it. And let's all celebrate. So you'll be amazed to know that in 1 year, we had 250 people attending, staff, students, faculty.
Great.
But not come together. We celebrated Lunar New Year from the, Chinese
and
Hong Kong and
yes.
world. We celebrated Eid, which is again a very proud moment for me, because the way we celebrated Eid, there was a fundamentally different picture in that Eid celebration, where we had the head of the institution of Indian origin, a professor of accounting of Pakistani origin, and a head of student services of Bangladeshi origin, all standing there in one picture for Eid. And I said, yes, I am not endorsing terrorism, I never will, but these are not the terrorists.
Correct, because
these
we
are
all
here.
are humans.
Yes.
And there is a unity in diversity.
Yes, so that was the leadership. Of course, we celebrated Diwali, no doubt. It was a phenomenal celebration because Diwali was all over. We had Christmas, and people who were afraid in England to celebrate Christmas, they said, are we allowed to call it Christmas? Because that is where diversity is headed. That is where leadership is headed. I said, please call it Christmas lights. Please don't call them festive lights. It is a Christmas tree. If there is a happy part of colonialism, it is here from India, that we are happy to celebrate Christmas. We have no problem. Bring in Santa Claus, bring in Christmas, bring in everything. Bring in the shepherds. We had that. We celebrated Easter for the Americans because they celebrate Easter. We had Thanksgiving for the Americans. Everybody came together. See, as long as you celebrate everybody's festival, we are even asked about Baisakhi, we asked about the Jewish festivals, whoever wants to celebrate whatever. Only if you do that, it's inclusive. Otherwise, you're absolutely right. Then don't bring in that element, because it's a workplace.
Global. As a globe, we are one.
As a workplace. And that's what, once upon a time, that's what it was about. So I'd just like to end by asking you a few questions about your own leadership. If you were to, give a message to future lawyers, future, I would say, legal students of the law, not just students of the law, but anybody who's interested in the legal profession. Because, all of these corporations, all of the leaders of today who are not lawyers, people like me who are not lawyers, we are a bit afraid. We are a bit afraid of breaking the law, and we try our best to follow the law. Right, and it's not simple for people like us. So if you have some messages for us, it will really help.
See, law is actually, it is simple, it is a common sense. And what we shouldn't do, which is taught in our childhood, that we have to follow. This is the law, basically. And for a young generation, lawyers or anybody, I'll say that believe in yourself first. For the leadership, believe in yourself, people will believe in you. but your conviction, self-conviction should be there. And always think of other people. Don't be self-centered.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been a wonderful
Thank you.
interview. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank
Thanks.
you. That was Justice Mridula Bhatkar, a former judge with the Bombay High Court, who gave us many, many landmark judgments, but she also led with empathy. And that is the main thing we would like to speak about, because she spoke about nurturing leaders. She spoke about a generation of young people who would be the judges of tomorrow, who would be the legal professionals of tomorrow, who would also be the government officials, the leaders, the business leaders of tomorrow, and with the sense of responsibility, right? Like she put it so simply, the law is not about a heavy book and having read it or not read it. What is the right thing to do? And as a leader, every morning we face this challenge that whatever comes before me, what is the right thing to do? On all fronts. So this is the best we have of Justice Mridula Bhatkar today. Thank you.